Somewhere in the vastness of space exists a splintered empire of thousands of space settlers, each bearing the hope of building an empire. Operating independently with the hopes of conquering the entire galaxy, each faction will expand, explore, exploit, and eventually attempt to exterminate their rivals. The struggle for resources, territory, and most of all, power, has set the tone for an intergalactic war like no other. Currently under development by Solid Cloud Games in Iceland, Starborn is a real-time 4X strategy MMO. Focus your space station and eventually space stations development in whatever ways you want, be it mining, spying, defensive, offensive, trading, supply, or variances of all of the above. Just know that one space station can't do it all. Build scout ships to explore your surroundings and find missions filled with caches of cards that you can use to enhance your stations and fleets. Build warships to defend your assets, protect your allies, and defeat NPCs and players. Then harvest all of your foes' resources with heavy industrial ships. Form alliances with other players, betray and be betrayed. Starborn is completely player-driven, therefore it is a diverse and unpredictable universe. And when I say this is a real-time game, I mean this is a real-time game. A game can last up to 6 months and can take a very long time to execute just about every action. As a matter of fact, it can take days for a fleet to reach a destination on the other side of the galaxy, and many days to build an advanced high-level structure on one of your stations. That being said, this game may not be for everyone, but for people who love the long game, this might be for you. Just remember that Starborn is a marathon, not a sprint. Alpha 6 has just begun, so if you'd like to participate in this alpha, just check out the links below. There will be a link that allows you to apply to get into this particular round. Keep in mind, I think they're only allowing up to 2,000 players on this one, so get in soon. I'm gonna be starting fresh with the alpha today. I'm gonna do our first moves with you guys just so you can get the gist of the game itself, but keep in mind, some things do take some time to execute, so I'm gonna be doing fast forwards quite frequently, just to keep things moving at a healthy pace. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. I have done nothing up to this point, so I'm already behind. I'm about 5 hours behind everybody else that started the game immediately when they launched this alpha, so I'm gonna try and go through the interface and the galaxy at large as quickly as possible. So as you can see, we started in a spiral galaxy. Each spiral, it has its own particular name. There's Virgo, Gemini, Libra, Cassiopeia, Andromeda, Orion, and Ursa. You can choose at the beginning of the game which spiral you would like to land on, giving you the opportunity to maybe start nearby a friend. However, we did start in Virgo, but because we started early on, we're going to be near the center, whereas if somebody joins later on, they may end up at the tail end of Virgo. And there's advantages to being near the center, and there's advantages to being near the end, as well as the middle, too. The best way to ensure that you start nearby your friends is to start at approximately the same time, and of course, pick the same arm, and then you guys should be relatively close to each other. So this is our lonely little station, our one little station that will eventually turn into an empire, my empire. So let's go over what we see around us. You notice there's a couple planets kicking around here. There is some resource hexes, and there's also an NPC nearby. NPCs will not attack us, but we can attack them, and they always start off with some kind of defenses. Now, this is a new alpha, and some things probably have changed, so I'm not sure what kind of defenses the little NPCs will have, but notice this. There is a level 3 NPC right near us too, a Marauder NPC. They may have quite a few defenses over here, which is interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out at some point, and you'll also notice there are other players who have situated themselves relatively close to us for now. I mean, I could eventually choose to destroy them or possibly ally with them, and you can have up to 20 people in an alliance, which is interesting. It used to be able to have unlimited amount of people in an alliance, and it was a little unfair because basically everybody would join 1 or 2 alliances. Now there's going to be little factions all over the universe, which is very, very exciting. So anyway, you'll notice there is a player here, Paraska, and then we have Gordiash, and then we have Verstern, and of course they're sort of as time goes on, we're going to see more and more people here. It's still early in the game, so I don't know how many people are actually in the game yet, but there's a few for sure. And some of these guys have already upgraded their stations. Notice this station is a level 2, this one's a level 1 still, and this Marauder base is a level 3, and that's terrifying. So NPCs will not attack you, but you can attack them. And at least that's how it used to be. This is a brand new alpha, so some things may have changed. NPCs always start with defenses, and then In previous alphas, they wouldn't build any more defenses, so you could just continue to harvest them for resources. However, this is a new alpha, so maybe they've changed that. Maybe NPCs will now continue to build defensive fleets. I don't know. So let's take a look at our starting station. Let's go to buildings. There are 3 different paths you can take with the station, or variants thereof between the 3. Now, keep in mind, you cannot build every single building within a station. You can only build, I believe, with every level of your station, you can build a few more buildings, new buildings. So with level 1, you can build 6 more buildings. You get 6 administrators. You need 1 administrator for each new building. And at level 2, you get another 6, and at level 3, you get another 5. And that's only for these buildings here. Now, with these buildings on this side, these are resource production buildings. These you can build as many as you want, and you want to get them up as high a level as possible, because the higher the level they are, the more resources they will produce, therefore allowing you to do more things like build warships and more buildings, right? It all makes sense. Now, as far as these 3 different paths, we've got military, domain, and industrial. Military is, of course, sort of geared around all military stuff, allowing you to build more ships faster, etc. The domain path is about espionage, and I believe you can build portal generators, which allows you to build stargates, which allows your fleets to go faster, and eventually going into administration offices and stuff like that, which increases your supply dramatically. If I remember correctly, let's just see, industrial fleets, the habitation dome outposts. Yes, we'll talk about outposts in a second, but yeah, this is a path you want to go if you need a station with lots and lots of supply. In other words, there's going to be lots of ships arriving there, etc. And then you have your industrial path, which allows you to build buildings that, of course, will increase the amount of minerals and resources you gain over time. So it's very important to consider sort of what path your station is going to take. Now, at the beginning here, I generally go sort of towards the industrial side with my initial station, with my command headquarters. The headquarters is special and unique in a number of ways. You can upgrade buildings much higher than you would normally on another station. Your HQ can actually upgrade much higher. You can change HQs later on in the game, or headquarters, sorry. I should actually say the word. You can change your headquarters later on in the game. I think you can do it once, if not twice. I think you can only do it once. But yeah, your headquarters gets the special ability of being able to upgrade buildings a little bit higher. And generally speaking, I think it's good to do it's totally subjective. This is totally subjective. Yeah, the last game, I actually went the military route with my command HQ, and I was regretting that. I was wishing that I went down more of the industrial route so that my HQ had a few more resources so that I could build some more ships faster, right? Anyway, so let's move on. Before we leave this, we're going to start building some of our first initial buildings. And I generally start with, of course, our initial resource buildings. So every one you click on here requires a certain amount of resources. This is going to require 60 metals, 106 gas, and 136 crystals, and it's going to take 2 minutes and 52 seconds to complete. It does not require administrators. As I said, administrators are only for these buildings on the right side, not for your resource buildings. Now we're going to construct this. This building also, note here, this building, once I upgrade it, is going to use 3 points. It currently uses, it doesn't. Oh yeah, so the next level, it doesn't, we don't have any levels in it. So it's also going to use 2 labor to upkeep. So you have to keep that in mind. Of course, labor is that 4th resource. Very, very important. If you run out of labor, you're going to start your bases are going to start producing far less minerals, and of course they can't support the fleets that are there, and your fleets will do far less damage and defend far worse than they would if they otherwise had lots of supply. So we're going to construct our first metal refinery. We're going to construct a crystal refinery, and at the beginning you can only have 2 buildings being built at the same time. Later on we can adjust that with cards. We'll talk about cards later. Now, if a building is under 5 minutes before it's constructed, so if it's under 5 minutes to be constructed, you can speed that construction at no cost. You can just go rush building, done. So there's an advantage to being online and playing, whereas when later on you'll get into buildings that take, up to days to build. And of course, you won't want to sit around for that. You're just going to want to come on, start your building construction or your ship construction, and then go to work or do other things. You can have a life. So we're going to build the second. Actually, let's take a look at our station first. Let's go back to our station. So our station is currently producing 98 metal per hour, 90 gas per hour, and 138 crystals per hour. That means, I'd like to kind of balance these out at the beginning. That means we're harvesting this planet here, which is producing 40 metals, 40 gas, and 40 crystals, and 40 supply. We're also getting 40 crystals from this planet. So we're producing more crystals than anything else, because this planet has crystals and this planet has crystals. Any of the resources that your station is right beside, that includes names, planets, and resource hexes, it will automatically harvest those resources. To get resources outside of that range, we're going to have to build outposts and other stations and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got this and we've got this, which means we're producing a lot of crystals. So at the beginning, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start working more on metal and gas, actually. So we're going to get that gas, that first level of the gas station. We're going to do the second level of the metal refinery because we can rush those. We'll just get those done. And we are using those resources in our stockpile as we do that. You'll notice that up there. So we're going to do another level of the gas refinery, another level of the metal refinery. This metal refinery is going to take 7 minutes and 22 seconds. So we won't be able to rush that one, but we can kill that or finish that gas refinery and maybe build the next level of that. And then we'll move on to something else. So of course, this is a military game. It is totally military, so you do have to consider your fleets. We start off with 3 defensive ships. These are the what are these called? I don't remember what these are called. These are patrol ships. Yes, patrol ships are more defensive than other ships. It's sort of a small ship, but it kind of looks like a B-wing, doesn't it? It looks a little bit like a B-wing. These have, of course, higher defense than other ships. Notice the defense is 21, whereas the offense is only 9. That means it's better off staying to defend the base in most situations. It's better off as defending than it is in attacking. And then we have our industrial ships. These ships are specifically designed to move resources from one place to another, specifically stealing resources from your enemies, whether it be an NPC or a player. Moving resources between bases, you use something called a freighter, which is a little bit different from an industrial ship. It's not actually a ship that you can manipulate. We'll get to that eventually, hopefully. Probably not this episode. If you guys want to see more of this, by the way, let me know in the comments below, because I would love to show you more. So this ship, of course, has a really large cargo space, 360 cargo space, so we can actually use that ship to grab materials from, say, this enemy NPC base once we killed its defenders. Then we have our scout ships. Scout ships are used to explore the area. So scout ships we can click on a scout ship and we can say, I want to take a look at this area over here. Go ahead and scan that area. And notice our scout ship will launch. And notice it's going in real time, so it's going to take a few minutes for that scout ship to arrive. If we want to see exactly how long it's going to take, we can click on the missions here, and it's, as it says here, it's going to take 12 minutes for it to reach its destination. Now, scout ships are really important. Scout ships you can use to find missions on the map. Missions, you can send out fleets to execute missions, and missions will give you these caches that can give you all sorts of cards. Cards are used to enhance ships and stations. Some of them are persistent, some of them are one-time use that only last a certain amount of time, but all cards can be really, really important. Some cards are better than others. There's rare, uncommon, and common. So that's one way to get cards. There is also the other way. You can actually buy the in-game currency. This is a free-to-play game, and you can buy the in-game currency and get cards that way. But cards, it's not pay to win, because we can get just as many cards by harvesting the missions that are surrounding our station. So on to the next thing. So we're gonna actually get a couple scouts going here, so we can kind of take a look at our surroundings. So we're gonna scan over here. We're gonna take Lieutenant Kraus. He's gonna scan over here, and all ships will gain experience as they complete things. So if your defending ships defend something, or they go out and do missions, they will gain experience and eventually get up to level 4, which of course improves all their abilities. Over here, of course, is where we can place the cards on our ships. We don't have any cards right now, so we can't do that. You get 3 card slots, basic persistent card slots on a ship, as well as 1 time duration card slot. Now, you can only use time duration card slots on the time duration card slot, which totally makes sense. Perfect. And all of your stats are listed on this screen. You can see all of your fleets from here. Now, these are ships that are currently active within our station. You can have ships that are actually stationed in your hangar that are not active. When they're in your hangar, they are not using any of your supply, but when they are outside of your hangar and actually in action in your fleet section, they are using up your supply. So that's something to keep in mind. It's very, very important. Now, you'll notice here that our station is actually ready to upgrade already. So we're going to do that. We're going to upgrade our station up to level 1, or level 2, sorry. We're up to level 2. Now that means everything within this territory we have claimed. There is a claim rating, so every sector has a certain amount of claim. We have claim 1 on all of these sectors. Now, if somebody plants a station right beside us, they can actually take over our territory with claim. So now we've upgraded our station. So what does that mean? That means a couple things. First of all, if we look in buildings here, we now have 6 administrators. That will allow us to build 6 buildings from the station level 2. Now, like I said, we want to be careful what we start off with. If we go after full defensive, I mean, we're not going to be attacked. As a matter of fact, just to show you something that's very important, we are currently ESA protected. All of the players start off as ESA protected. That means they have 7 days since the time that they started playing before they will actually be vulnerable to attack. Nobody can attack another player for the first 7 days. So everybody is protected. So you don't have to worry about that. So, you know, with your starting base, as long as you're careful, I think it's kind of better to go after maybe a different way. So one good way to go is start with the data bureau. That would allow us to build a certain type of outpost. It would allow us to build a scanner outpost, which would be able to find missions for us without us having to send out ships. But we can only build outposts within our claim radius. So we could build, you know, an outpost here, outpost here, outpost here, but it cannot be on a planet, and it cannot be on a resource hex. Later on, we can build mining outposts on the resource hex. I don't know if I don't think we actually can build them on the resource hex. I don't know. It's been a little bit since the last alpha, so I don't remember entirely. So just bear with me on stuff like that. Besides, some of that stuff may have changed. So let's go back to our buildings here. Now that we have the opportunity to start sort of picking our direction, I think we're going to head towards harvesting or towards the industrial buildings, which will allow us to get more materials faster. So in the beginning, I think that's really, really important. So we're going to go for the harvest office. The harvest office, I'll read this out for you. Allows industrial fleets at the station to construct the mining facility outpost. Increases the resources gotten from breaking down commodity cards at the station. Commodity cards are the cards I spoke of before. As you get cards, there may be cards that you don't want. You can actually break them down to get prestige, which you can use to buy more cards, which is interesting. This will also unlock the mining facility outpost. At level 10, we get a second mining facility. At level 20, allows a third mining facility. So plus 5 resources per yield per building level when breaking down commodity cards at the station selected. And of course, it opens the mining facility outpost. The mining facility harvests all adjacent resources. Can only be built on empty hex claimed by the station. Mining facility yields half of its resource value of each adjacent resource field at 40% yield per outpost level. So this is a good direction for us to go. It doesn't cost a lot of resources to get that first level. And even with level 1, we'll be able to build 1 mining outpost. Now, the problem is, I've noticed here, we don't have a lot of opportunity for building mining outposts. We've got this here. So we've got a section of a hex of gas and a hex of supply. Actually, good thing. Actually, supply is a good one to have. So it's an ice field, and that gives you water, which in turn gives you the opportunity to have more people, which means more supply. So that's the logic behind that. And then we also have a deposit of crystals over here. It's a small deposit, would give us 60. So what I'm probably going to do is build an outpost right here. That will allow us to harvest the 60 people as well as the 60 gas. And I'll probably, maybe going the industrial route might not be the best route for us, but I'm going to do it anyway because that will give us at least crystals. We won't have to worry about too much because we already have our bonus of crystals. Plus this will give us a nice little chunk of crystals per hour. So I think we'll go that route. And besides, it's not that expensive. It's not that expensive to build that initial building, just the harvest office. Also located in the industrial path is the smelting plant. The smelting plant will allow us to increase the output of our metal, gas, and crystal production. Just plus 5 metal, gas, and crystal production. I think that's changed from last time. I think it used to affect the buildings. It used to increase these by percentage, but now it's just plus 5 metal, gas, and crystal production. So that's just straight up good, right? Now, every level will increasingly get more expensive, of course, right? Making it more difficult to build the next one. So you're going to need more materials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a good path to get started with. As a matter of fact, we're going to build the smelting plant right away. Get that boost of metal, gas, and crystal. Perfect. And we do have to keep an eye on our supply. So if we go back here, our supply is sitting at 223. We've got lots of people right now, but eventually that is going to be an issue. It always becomes an issue. It doesn't seem like it at first, but it always becomes an issue. So before we go any further, let's talk about the different modes of the map or the different views on the map. So if you hit spacebar, we go to our scanning mode. So we can see where all the gravity wells, where the planet or the stars are, which is kind of neat. That's kind of cool. But more importantly, once our scouts actually reach their destinations, it's going to show us where all of the different missions are, or give us sort of a heat map of where missions could be. If a scout actually lands on a place where there is a mission, they will automatically find it. Otherwise, there's going to be this little heat map that will allow us to sort of narrow down and sort of triangulate where those missions are going to be. The other view mode is the resource view mode, which gives us sort of a quick view on where all the resources are located. So as you can see, our one planet has some metals, gas, crystals, and supply, as well as this one has crystals and supply. And then you can see the 2 asteroid fields that we're going to take advantage of. One has supply and one has gas. And of course, this is a great way to kind of look around and see where you kind of want to build your next station, right? So you generally want an area that's rich with resources. Very, very important. So yeah, those are the 3 different views. Now let's take a look. Of course, this is new. This menu bar up top is new. Used to have to manually use keys to actually cycle through them all, but now we can actually I think we could just double click on this. Can we just double click on our station here and then go to it? I'm not sure. But it gives you a rundown of all your stations, which is interesting. And then you have your fleet screen, which shows you all of your fleets. And of course, you can upgrade your fleets with cards from the screen, etc. Then you have your movements, which shows all of your fleets in action right now and what they're doing. So we've got our fleets scanning the different areas here and how long it's going to take for that to happen. Very important later on, because you can see fleets actually coming to attack your station and approximately how long it's going to take as well. Inventory shows our total inventory of cards. We don't have any cards right now. I'm hoping that sometime during this episode we might get a card so I can show you, which means we're going to have to do a mission. And then freighters become important in the later game when we have multiple stations and we need to transfer minerals from one place to another. You cannot use your industrial ships to do that. Then we have our alliance. We can of course create our own alliance, or we can join an alliance. As I said before, we can only have 20 people in an alliance. Oh yes, achievements. Yes, so perfect. We're going to talk about achievements. Achievements are also really important in this game. As you accomplish certain things in the game, it's going to give you an unlocked achievement. Achievements always give you something, right? So we just got an achievement for upgrading our station. So we got this achievement for upgrading our station. We can claim our reward, which is a reward of 10 plat. 10 plat we can use to buy cards, and 500 metals, 500 gases, and 500 crystals. We also get a Ruby Master card, which is kind of cool. This card adds 4 defense power to each ship in a fleet. See, isn't that cool? Very, very nice. Cards are really important. But don't worry, there is a cash shop, so you can buy not specific cards, but like packages of cards. But don't worry, you can get all the cards you need from actually exploring and of course doing your achievements. So it's up to you whether you want to take advantage of that or not, but it's not necessary in my opinion. So before everybody goes, oh, pay to win, no, you can get all this stuff easily within the game as well. Okay, and we also got cyborg workers. This would give building time of military, domain, and industrial buildings reduced by 25%. This is actually a pretty good card to attach to a station right away. Station harvest yield increased by 100%. Stations harvest all adjacent planets, moons, and resource fields. Harvest radius of station can be increased, for instance, by the patrol station building. Cannot be attached to stations with an influence level above 2. So we can't put this on a station that is larger than the station that we have right now. But this seems like a pretty good card to put on our initial station. This is a brand new card, by the way. So it reduces the time that it takes to build our different buildings, as well as gives us increased yield by 100%. That's pretty great. That is pretty awesome. We're going to claim that reward. Oh, something else before I go any further, before I keep claiming all of my rewards here, it's important to note that you have a resource cap on your station. So right now, we can only have up to 3,000 of each resource that we have here. So maximum 3,000 metal, maximum 3,000 gas, and a maximum of 3,000 crystals. So it's very important before you claim any of your achievements that you have enough room to store those materials, because at least in the last alpha, if you didn't have enough room, it didn't tell you. It might tell you now. I don't know. But you just lose those resources. So make sure that you increase the size of your warehouses. And of course, you can build your warehouses in here, and they cost a little bit of resources to build for every level. They get more and more expensive, like everything else. We can't upgrade it right now because we're currently building the harvest office and the smelting plant. And they're going to be done in like 25 minutes. Yes. So moving on. So achievements, let's take a look at all the achievements we got. So we did a scan operation. We'll take a look at that in a second, but we did get another card for that. We got a card that we can attach to our scout ship to give it +5 scanning, which is great. We'll talk about the scanning a little bit more in a second. We're going to claim that right away. And then we have a refinery of each type at level 1, which we got already. And that gives us 10 plat, which we can use to buy stuff. Then we built a production building, and that gives us 5 plat, which is nice, as well as 2 cards. Ooh, Will of Gamish. This is a really good card. I like this card. Gives 20 metal, gas, and crystal resources per hour. Increase building construction queue slots by 1. So it allows us to build 3 buildings at the same time, which is really, really nice. And we also got resilience. I don't know if this is a new card or not. I can't click on it. Well, let me click on it. Oh, something went wrong here. Let's open that up again. Achievements. Oh, weird. This is an alpha, so there's going to be stuff like this. Okay, there we go. Station card. All buildings are 5% cheaper to build and upgrade 25 plus 25 metal, gas, and crystal production per hour. And wow, this is good for any level of station. Wow, this is a brand new card. I love the art in this game. It looks really great. I love it. So we're going to claim that. And anything more? I think we got that. And that's all the achievements. But it's important, you know, if you do decide to play this game, go through all of the achievements. Many of them are really easy to accomplish, like exploring, complete an event. And we're going to talk about events in a second here. So we've just finished scanning this area here. If we go to our scan mode here, we can see that there's possibly missions in this area. You can see the heat map here. There was nothing here, but this probe will stay active for 23 minutes and 58 seconds and will expose any heat maps that fall within that range during that time. So same with this one. This probe is now active for 23 minutes and 59 seconds, but there was no missions sort of within that area to speak of, and then this guy hasn't quite arrived yet. So when these scouts get back, we're going to send these scouts out to explore these areas a little bit further and maybe kind of narrow down where that first mission is. And events and missions are 2 different things. Events happen within the radius of your stations. It can happen at any of your stations and within the range of your stations. And there's different levels of events, and events give you different types of cards. They give you resource cards that allows you to build outposts and stuff like that, as well as I think they can give you some other stuff, but primarily resource cards, whereas mission events or missions will give you just general cards. So it's important to keep that in mind. We don't have any events opened up quite yet, but we'll get there. Next thing on our list is go to our shipyard. So actually, before we talk about our shipyard, let's talk about the actual buildings that we have built here that are important for the shipyard. So of course, we have the shipyard built, and you start with a shipyard of level 10. Your new stations will not start out with a shipyard of level 10. As a matter of fact, there won't be a shipyard at all, so you'll have to build those from scratch. But with your command HQ, you start with a shipyard of level 10. Every level allows you to build ships a little bit faster. Now, the shipyard will only allow you to build 4 different classifications of ships: corvettes, patrols, scouts, and industrial ships. So let's go take a look at those. We'll talk about the docking bay and the resource vault in a second. So let's go take a look at the types of ships that we can build. We can currently build a corvette, which is an offensive ship. Notice its offensive power is 7, but its defensive power is only 3. So you want to make sure that you're using this classification of ship when you're attacking somebody. You want to use this ship. It's not very good for defending. Not to say that it can't be made into something good for defending, but you'd have to apply certain cards and stuff to make it a little bit better. And then, of course, you got your patrol ship, which we already talked about. Looks like a B-wing. Actually, this one looks like an A-wing, and this one totally looks like a B-wing. I love it. I just love it. Anyway, this is your more defensive ship. All of these ships, even these little attack and defense ships, do have some cargo space, but very, very low. So you've got 5 cargo space on the corvette, and the the corvette has 10 cargo space. The defensive ship only has 5 cargo space. And then there's the industrial, of course. It does have defensive firepower. It does not have offensive firepower. So it's good. It can be good for defense, but these are expensive to build. So you don't want to use these for defense. A lot of times if you're getting attacked, the best thing to do is to move out the industrials, to move out the attack fleets, and just keep your defense fleets there, just depending on the situation. Then we have our scout, who has a balanced offense and defense. These are a good early ship to have. On top of that, they start with 10 cargo space. So these are good for both offense and defense. And the more scout ships you have in a scout fleet, the better the chance, or the higher the chance of them finding actually scanning down a mission too, which is important to keep in mind. Now, we do have a card that we can apply to one of our scout ships, but we're not going to do that right now. So the other ships on this list, these are something that we can't build quite yet. We've got destroyers, which are a heavy attack ship, offense power 35, defense power 10. Also, capital ships do have something called capital firepower. We're going to talk about that. If we do another couple videos on this, depending on whether you guys like it, we'll get into stuff like this, but we're not going to talk too much about that right now. There's suppression, there's capital firepower, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All sorts of neat stuff there. Then there's the frigate, which is our defensive capital ship. Then we have our gunship, which is used to destroy stations and the buildings within. This is the only ship you can use to actually destroy a station. So do keep that in mind. They're very expensive to build, and the destroyer, the frigate, and the gunship ship require the big starship construction facility, which is kind of cool. And then we have the dreadnought and of course the carrier. The dreadnought being the defensive version of the largest ship and the carrier being the offensive version of the largest ship. So these ships, of course, require another outpost, certain type of outpost to build and require a lot of resources to build. Very slow to build unless you have a bunch of cards that speeds up that process. Yeah, so at the beginning here, because we're probably going to take advantage of this NPC, so we need to destroy the defenses on that NPC. So we're going to build a handful of corvettes. I think we'll build 10 corvettes to start, and you can see that does cost a little bit. 500 metal, 300 gas, and 200 crystal, and 10 supply. After we built these, they're going to show up in our hangar. Now, they aren't actually going to be using supply until we actually activate that fleet and put it in our primary fleets here. So you can keep ships in your hangar, but keep in mind that defensively, ships they're only 5% effective when they're in your hangar. So if somebody attacks me and I have all of my ships in my hangar because I'm trying to save supply, the ships that are in my hangar will defend the base, but they're only 5% effective. So do keep that in mind. We got our industry path basics. So for this, we built our first industry building within our station. Requirements: achieve any of the following conditions: plasma chamber, harvest office, or smelting plant. This will give us 300 metals, gases, and crystals. We've got lots of room. It also, more importantly, gives us 10 industrial ships. Industrial ships, as I said, are really expensive, so I'm really glad I got that. And we also got a harvester drone, which is a card that we can put on our indies to allow them to harvest a special mission that appears on suns. But we'll take this. Perfect. Excellent. And let's go to our station here and take a look. So we still got 20 minutes before our smelting plant is done. And I'm going to set up actually, before we do that, let's attach some cards to our station because we have some new cards. So just clicking on our station, we can go to our cards menu and we can click on here and we can attach any cards that we want. So we've got the minus 25% building time and 100% station harvest yield. That is a great one to have. So we're going to stick that on. Keep in mind, this card is going to go away when we reach our station exceeds level 2. So once we reach station level 3, this card goes away. We can manually remove it, but you don't get anything back. You don't get the card back, it just disappears. And then we're going to attach another one. So we've got the exosuits, which gives us 25 plus 25 metal, gas, and crystal production, and minus 20% industry building costs. So we're going to attach that, and that's it. That's all it does. This is a great card. I actually really like this card. So it gives us just bonus materials. So now, without doing very little, you can see that we already have 170 units of metal per hour, 170 units of gas per hour, and 243 units of crystal per hour. Not a bad little start, but we're still a little bit behind because I started this so late. And this concludes part 1 of our 2-part introduction and tutorial to Starborn. I hope to see you for the next episode. All right, take care. Bye, bye, bye.